Hello there, and welcome to a video for Grade 12 Essential Math on renting a place to live. This could be an apartment, this could be a house, but this is an overview of some of the things you should know when you're looking for a place to live and you're going to be renting. Now, first thing to note, a disclaimer, this is by no means a 100% complete list of steps or costs or that sort of stuff. This is an overview that should be a useful tool, but is not the be-all and end-all. There's tons and tons of good resources out there that you can use to find this. Let's take a look. The general process when you're renting a place to live is to start off by asking how much you can afford. Use an affordability tool to calculate, figure out, hey, how much can I afford from my paycheck? Generally, you don't want to spend more than 32% of your paycheck on rent or on housing costs. Spending that much on rent, that's quite a lot. First off, figure out how much can you afford. That is a really good habit for any major purchase, whether that's a place to rent, a house to buy, or a car, or anything like that, is look at how much you can afford first. Once you've figured out how much you can afford, then you're going to be looking for a rental property. There's a lot of good tools online, such as Kijiji or other sites. In the area, I know there's one called Steinbach Apartments, but generally there's places to look. You could also look in newspapers or other places like that. You're looking for a rental property is your next step. Sometimes you may have personal connections. Sometimes you may know someone who's looking to rent a room or looking to rent out their basement, or maybe you know of someone who's looking for a roommate. That could work as well. Once you've found a place to rent, you generally need to apply. This will look a little different depending on who's renting the property. You may need to go and fill in an application form. You may need to go and do an interview with the landlord. If you're talking to a friend who's renting out a room to you, it may be a lot less formal. Generally, a property management company, you'll need to do a formal application. You'll need to do a credit check on that, and you'll need to provide your last 2 pay stubs. That's pretty standard for a property management company. Another question to ask is it a rental agreement for a whole year, which is pretty common, or is this a month-to-month rental? Both of those have advantages and disadvantages. A rental contract states your rent's going to be the same for the whole year, but you have to stay there for a year or find someone to sublet your apartment. A month-to-month is a lot more flexible, but the landlord might decide, hey, you know what, next month I don't want you to live here anymore because I want to sell the property or rent it to someone else, and that's the end of that contract. Once you've applied for it, you need to set up your payments and your services. You will likely have a damage deposit. Damage deposit depends on the company. Sometimes it's half a month's rent. You may require first and last month's rent. Often what that is that will be your first month is the first for the paying your first month you're living there, and the last month's rent is for your damage deposit. You will often, when you move out, that damage deposit will get returned to you or subtracted from your last month's rent. You will need to set up your rent payments, whether that's direct deposit or whether you're going to pay in person with a check each month, something like that. You also need to figure out what services you need, depending on what's in your rental. You need to set up stuff like utilities, hydro, and water. You need to set up an account so that you can pay for those. But if you're living in say you're living in someone's basement, you may not need to, and it may be an agreement with them that you'll pay half of their hydro bill or something like that. You may need to set up optional services such as internet or TV or a landline phone. And you may also want to set up tenants insurance. Tenants insurance is a really good idea. It protects your belongings in case of a fire or a break-in or something like that. And it's quite cheap, approximately $10 a month, $10 to $15 a month for tenants insurance. After that, you move in. Once it's your turn or your time to move in, you get a couple of friends to help you, or you pay a company to help you move in, and then you're good. When you're renting, it's also important to notice that there are a number of costs you have to pay when you start renting a place. You generally pay your first month's rent. You generally pay a damage deposit. First month's rent is you're paying for the first month you're living there. Damage deposit may be a half month's rent or a full month's rent or a different amount. You may hear of people paying first and last month's rent. That's the first month's rent and the damage deposit combined usually. And when you move out, if there's no damage to the apartment, then you'll get your damage deposit back. At my last apartment, I got the entire damage deposit back, except for $25, which they charged me for cleaning the windows. Oh well. Utility hookup fees. Some utilities may have hookup fees. Hydro may have a security deposit when you move, which you can get back afterwards. And moving costs. Are you asking a company to move you, or are you asking some friends to move you and you're going to pay them in pizza and beverages? That's often kind of a fun evening, but takes some time and some effort. Ongoing costs for renting, you need to pay the rent. That's fairly straightforward. When you're renting a place, you need to pay the rent. You also should pay for tenant's insurance. Tenant's insurance is not mandatory, but it's pretty cheap and a good idea. Utilities are a little bit trickier because some of them may be included with rent. Depending on how you're renting, who you're renting from, type of building, all that sort of stuff, you may have a case in which all of your utilities are included, including internet and TV, or you may have a case in which none of them are included and you have to pay all of them separately. This could range from heat to hydro to water to whatever it works out to, and that depends a lot on the building. Fairly common is for water to be included, but hydro to be separate, and anything like internet or TV to be your own problem to deal with and to pay. So this has been a very brief overview of things you should know when you're looking at renting an apartment and some of the costs that you're looking at there. Hope this has been a little bit helpful. Again, remember, this is not a complete overview. This is just a brief overview. I hope you have a great day. Bye.